if we don't talk about the mess, it doesn't lend that confidence and trust. It doesn't allow them to build that trust. You can sit in the puddle of, I've never done this, it will never work, or you can move.
On today's episode of Signature Insights, we're joined by my friend Val Garcia. Val Garcia is an international speaker. She's an author and a consultant who spent the last 20 years helping entrepreneurs and realtors lead with confidence. Today, we're going to talk about mindset, how it impacts success. We're going to talk about resiliency. We're going to talk about leadership in a messy world. Val is the incredible best-selling author of the book, We're Going to Need Cake, which is near and dear to my heart because I think the book is very well done, and I also really love cake. I think you do too, don't you?
Who doesn't? Who doesn't?
Welcome to the show, Miss Garcia.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here today.
Yeah, I'm thrilled.
I have a lot of questions. I have a lot of topics and a lot of things I want to talk about with you today. First and foremost, we've been friends for a very long time. Do you remember how we met?
No. Do you?
Yeah, I do. Michael Thorne introduced us.
Oh.
And Michael Thorne told me that you are really good at connecting people and putting them together. And he felt very happy that he introduced us because he thought we'd be very good together.
Oh.
And then we,
Okay.
yeah. You
One more thing I owe Michael Thorne for.
You have had a long career. We are filming this in the Royal LePage Signature Mississauga office, and you actually used to work here. You were a marketing.
Yeah, I worked in marketing and I did the books. So I guess I was the office manager back then, but gosh, that was 20 years ago.
20 years ago, when this was Century 21 Kingsbury, which was the office that Signature amalgamated with back in what year would that have been? 2015.
2015. Yep.
2015. You were long gone by then.
No, that's when I started. Right around the amalgamation. That's a big word. Yes. Yeah.
And then what did you do after that?
I moved to Australia and did operations management for a boutique real estate brand in Australia. And it was my responsibility to bring on new offices and show them the ropes. So I traveled all over Australia and did, marketing and social media then. That was new.
Very new. Very new. We'll talk about that.
We started our very first blog. Blogging was big. It was, crazy times.
And then after that?
And then I got recruited back to the GTA, and I was the director of education for Remax here for many years here in the GTA.
And then I remember this story vividly. One day when you were working for Remax, you did a speech on stage, and someone said to you, I didn't realize you were a keynote speaker. And you said,
I'm not. I mean, I was a trainer at that point. I was doing, corporate training. I was doing, education as I saw it. And I never really saw myself as a keynote speaker.
Other people clearly did, though.
Yeah.
Because in that moment, someone said to you, no, but you are. Yeah. And I think that kind of started your journey into being a keynote speaker. Today, you speak on stages across the world, from a couple hundred people to thousands and thousands of people. And in your book, We're Going to Need Cake, you talk about this idea of, messy execution, which I'm a big fan of. And when you and I have been friends professionally and personally for so long, one of the things that you always say to me is, it's never going to be perfect. Do it anyways. It's never going to be perfect. For our audience listening as realtors, what are some of the stumbling blocks you see some of the activities they don't do because they're worried they can't do it perfectly?
Well, I mean, I think the biggest one is getting on camera, which I can totally relate to because, I'm always the first one to admit I don't love to be on camera either. And that's what I do for a living. It's always a little, you're looking at yourself. It's always a little disconcerting. It's always a little uncomfortable. I think that is probably the biggest thing that we're not doing that does the most for our business is gets us FaceTime in front of other humans when we're not physically in front of them. So I think also just, following up, which we are terrible at in this industry, terrible. But calling people that you haven't talked to in a while, because it's a little awkward because you haven't talked to them in a while, and even if you don't really have anything to say, yeah, I think those are the two big things that, oh, I don't know exactly what I'm going to say, or I don't know exactly how I'm going to come across or how I'm going to look. And that worry holds us back from doing the things that are going to make the biggest difference.
Agree completely. Another piece of the puzzle that you really talk about is this idea of messy authenticity. I feel like authenticity has been such a buzzword for so long now, for so many years.
And I read an article on Wired this morning that says people should stop trying to be authentic. And I was like,
What?
oh God, like we're there already. That was short-lived.
What do we do instead?
I don't know. It was behind a paywall.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it couldn't tell you.
Just clickbait. Champion this idea of messy authenticity. Why do you think that matters so much to realtors specifically?
I think a lot of people, when they hear the title of my book or what it's about being messy, they think it means just like jumping your guts out in front of people.
Yes.
Like, oh, just, be a hot mess. And that's really not what I talk about. That's really not what the book is about. It is about navigating through messy moments of life with leadership. And I think, when it comes to agents, a lot of times messy authenticity looks like stop talking about how you're number one all the time and talk about the fact that your job is actually to solve really big, messy problems, right? And we don't talk enough about the messy problems. I always tell people, if you want to make more money, talk about more expensive problems. But because we don't talk about the messy problems, we don't talk about the fact that we had to make 17 phone calls with the other agent to negotiate for the, fridge that they took when they weren't supposed to take the fridge or whatever, right? Like, you're negotiating on little things that become really big things when emotions get involved, and you're navigating people through really, really hard, messy, emotional decisions. And we don't talk about those enough. And so authenticity really for me means showing up and talking about the things that we try and avoid so everything looks neat and tidy and number one and perfect. But that's not what people pay us for. They don't pay us to be perfect. They pay us to help them through the messy stuff.
It's so fascinating because I don't know where along the way as an industry we decided that it would be better to talk about ourselves and our performance and being number one instead of this idea of like, this is really what I do as a realtor. I help you through the messy stuff.
Because it's not sexy, I think. Oh, I just closed the biggest deal of my life, #blessed, #ballin'. That's fine. But it doesn't tell us anything about the, 72 text messages and the phone calls and the number of times like you wanted to cry and your buyer was crying. And I'm not saying dump all that mess out there. I'm saying talk about the fact that these deals are not easy. Because what it does is it makes your audience feel like, okay, so that person is going to have my back when things go wrong. That person is going to know what to do when things get messy. That person's going to know what to do when I am freaking out at 2 a.m. thinking I have just made the biggest mistake of my life. Which, newsflash, I just did because I just bought. And after I signed the contract, I woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning and was like, oh my God, maybe this was a mistake. And it wasn't, but you're always going to feel like that. And what you need is somebody to go, I've got you. I've been here. I have done this. I understand how you feel. We're going to get through this. This is normal, right? But if we don't talk about the mess, it doesn't lend that confidence and trust. It doesn't allow them to build that trust.
Do you think it's because realtors feel uncomfortable with being vulnerable about it?
Heck yeah, because humans do. And we're human.
What is it about vulnerability that makes humans uncomfortable?
I think it's just that idea of like, what are people going to say? I think vulnerability opens you up to, some people aren't going to like it. Some people are going to have opinions about it. And you know what? Yeah, they are. I mean, some people aren't going to like it. Some people are going to talk.
Aren't they going to talk anyways, though?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you're from the South. Don't they talk a lot? I feel like that's a whole
I think
pastime.
I think everyone's going to talk. There's never going to be a time when nobody has opinions. I think the thing that holds us back in terms of being real and authentic and vulnerable with our customers and ourselves is that what are people going to say? And let them say the things.
I had you on Signature Live earlier today, and we talked about this idea, about mindset, and about embracing change. Has there been a time in your career where you can sort of pinpoint that mindset shift when it comes to change?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely that story I told this morning. I distinctly remember being 19 years old, and I was at the front desk of our real estate brokerage, and my broker came in with a box and said, "This is going to change our lives." And it was a fax machine. And we all laugh when I say that because that, feels like forever ago. Like I can't remember the last time I faxed something now.
Well, it's not 1980, so I don't think you do.
This was in the 90s. I'm not that old, but it was, and I remember agents freaking out and saying like, I'm going to have to retire. I'm never going to get this. My clients are never going to understand this technology. I like this belly to belly, like sitting at their table. They're never going to get, like, they're not going to need me anymore if they have to just can fax something. And it's so funny because I would say 20 years later, we had the exact same conversations around digital signatures. Oh my God, I'm going to have to retire. This technology is too complicated. My clients only have one email address. They're never going to get on board with this. They want to see me in person. No, they don't actually want to drive all the way across town, and nor do you.
Nor do you.
To get one signature. Nobody wants to do that. And so I think that mindset really shaped for me this idea of you can sit in the puddle of I've never done this. It will never work. Or you can move. And that is totally a choice. And I saw that firsthand from the beginning of my career. The agents who said, okay, we'll figure it out. We'll make it work. I will make it part of my business. Like, we're moving forward. They're still in business today. And the ones who were like, oh my God, it's too hard. I'm never going to get this. I'm never going to understand that. I'm going to have to retire. They are not in the business today.
Or probably, I mean, you could, I think, overlay that with any industry, really. Like, it isn't just realtors. I wouldn't say.
Absolutely. I would say that's probably true in probably every industry. Yeah.
Now, here in the GTA, you have just benefited greatly from being a buyer in today's market, so congratulations. We are firmly in buyer's market territory. Yes. Of course, in the GTA, as I know you've been following along with the stats, we are, this will be the lowest year in history here for number of sales, which is, a lot because this is the third year in a row we've said that. And I know for realtors, it feels like a grind out there right now. And so when you talk about mindset, how do realtors in today's market continue to have a positive mindset when it feels like there's really no positivity coming?
Yeah, I mean, it's clearly a choice. It is a choice what you choose to tell your brain every day. If you wake up every day and you tell your brain, it sucks, everything sucks, it's always going to suck. I talk about this a lot in my book, about this idea that when something goes wrong, your brain wants you to believe in the 3 Ps. It is personal, it's my fault, I suck. I did something wrong. I haven't done something right. It's pervasive. Everything sucks. Not just this part, but not just the market. Like my whole business sucks. Like my whole life sucks. And it's permanent. It's always going to suck. And so the I suck, everything sucks, it's always going to suck is a really easy place to like pitch a tent.
100%. Yes. Let's just get comfortable.
I mean, you could literally live there. And I know because I did once. Like my marriage fell apart and things were hard at work at that time. And I literally pitched a tent, forwarded my mail, and changed my address to I suck, everything sucks, it's always going to suck. And I had that rolling in my head for probably a good 2 years. And it pushed me, and I'm very open about this, pushed me into a very deep depression.
I remember those times.
While at the same time getting on stage every day going, everything's great. It was not great at all. But I chose to continue to play that soundtrack in my head. I chose to listen to it and believe it. And our brains are programmed to believe what they hear over and over and over again. And we decide what to feed them. And I had to choose to feed it something different. And it took help. I mean, it took therapy, it took time, it took work. I mean, you always say, when I said this morning, like your brain is a muscle. You know, you don't just go in to the gym once, unfortunately. Work out once and like you're in perfect shape. It is something you have to do over and over and over and over again to build that muscle. And it is still something that to this day, when something goes wrong, like for instance, you know, for me, my deals are getting a speaking gig. And there are times where I'll get the email saying, we've decided to go with someone else. And it happens really frequently. Just like to, you know, your listeners, we've decided not to sell. We've decided to use another agent. We've decided to pull it off the market. And it sucks, you know, in that moment because you have already sort of like counted on income or moved forward into like how you're going to make that work. And it's every time it's hard. And every time I still to this day have to walk myself back from I suck, everything sucks, it's always going to suck, to this is opening me to other possibilities. Everything else is now possible because that is off the table. That is something I have to work on every day. Still, I will probably have to work on it for the rest of my life. No matter how many times I say it, it's something that you have to physically choose every time. And for me, that's mindset. I mean, in a nutshell, it is consistently telling my brain what it needs to hear.
I love that. I love that. I think sometimes there's a common misconception out there that like mindset or positivity comes natural to people. Like people oftentimes say to me like, how are you so positive all the time? And I say back to them, it's a choice. It's a choice. I'm not going to come into work where I'm a leader and say, oh my God, you guys, this market's never going to get better. What are we going to do? Like that just doesn't make any sense.
But it's also not a choice. It is a series of that choice over and over. It is choosing constantly.
As I think you have to, right? As I think you have to. This is not, being a realtor is not for the faint of heart. We know this, you know, intimately. But as a consumer, I think we've often joked before. I think people think that realtors put signs on the lawn and cash checks and drive around drinking Starbucks.
That's literally what they think. I mean, there have been surveys done, and the top two activities that people associate with realtors is signs in yards, which is so funny, and making money.
And making money. Making money.
The top two things that come to mind. Not negotiation, not problem solving, not therapy, not, you know, coordinating all of the steps. Like, you know, like you're a conductor, right? Of all the different pieces that have to fall into place on the days. Like my deal, somebody was buying, I was closing, the person that I was buying from was like all coordinating all of that, right? You do all of those things, not just making money.
That's right. I often equate it to, you say conductor, I like to say the quarterback. Because the quarterback knows...
I don't speak sports ball, so that's not my language.
Go sports. The quarterback's job is to assign the jobs to everybody and know what's going on with all the players on the field. And I think that's often really what realtors do. You know, going back to that thing where this is what consumers think about realtors, what do you think, like, what do we do about that? Like, how do realtors in today's environment, maybe, you know, you talk about storytelling a lot. So maybe it's using storytelling to get better at this conversation of what we really do. How do realtors overcome this challenge of like, everybody thinks we just drive around and put up signs in the lawn and cash checks, which is so funny because I don't know a single realtor that puts up their own signs, but I digress.
Right.
I digress. How do realtors today use something like storytelling as an example to portray a better image than what the public maybe perceives?
Yeah, this is a really simple answer. Let me tell you about a time when. Start with that. Let me tell you about a time when. If you're stuck for what to put on social media, if you're stuck for talking about the hard things, let me tell you about a time when. I think we shy away from storytelling because it feels like, oh, I'm talking about my clients. Yeah, you are. Every good company talks about their clients. You watch a advertisement for Cheerios on the TV and it is about somebody who is eating Cheerios. That is their audience, that is their customer. Yes, we do have to talk about our customers. Not like, oh, let me tell you about a time when I had the worst customer in the world. But in terms of, let me tell you about a time when this customer struggled with this, or we had to overcome this together, or we came up against this wall of a challenge we had to solve together. Let me tell you about a time when. That is the strongest, most powerful storytelling tool you have in your toolbox, and we don't use it enough because you get to make your customer the hero of that story, and you are the guide. You are the one going, let me help you get there, and you get to shine. So
Who wrote that book
tell
again?
those story. That was
Donald
Donald
Miller.
Miller. Yeah.
That is Story Brand.
Yeah.
We love that book.
Yeah. And it's so true. I think we're stuck in this. I'm the hero. I'm number one. I sold a house. I sold the biggest house in my career. I'm amazing. No, it's my customer found the exact thing that they wanted, and it wasn't easy. And we had to go through a couple offers to get it. And I just got to be the one to like see their faces when they walked in that day. And that was amazing.
And how do you think that those unique stories build deeper relationships with clients?
I mean, they create connection. Humans are pack animals. We are, honestly, we are not created to be lone wolves or solo. And this is a very lonely business where a lot of us are working solo. A lot of us are in, maybe 2-person teams at most. That is the majority of our industry. And it is lonely. And we need connection. We have to. Like, we are wired, as Brene Brown says, for connection. We are created for moments of connection. And that is how trust is born. So we can't build trust with our audience and our customers if we don't tell those stories, because they don't get to see how are you going to respond when everything goes south? How are you going to handle big challenges? If all they ever see is you going, things are great, I just sold a house. Well, sounds like you're busy enough. Sounds like you don't need me. Sounds like you're too busy. I'll call somebody else. Honestly, that happens more than you think.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Brian Buffini's built a whole business out of saying, I'm never too busy for your referrals.
Exactly. For a reason. Like, I used to work in this boutique brokerage in Australia, right? And our average price point was like 10 million. It was fancy. It's very fancy. Yeah, I mean, it was fancy. But, I was also working there during the economic downturn. So we were selling like Lehman Brothers second, third houses, for pennies on the dollar. And these were big, giant houses. So they were fancy. But I can't tell you how many times my agents in my offices would hear from their friends, oh, I went with another agent because you only sell really expensive houses.
Yes.
Like, I didn't think you would handle like my little $1 million house.
Yes.
Right? I mean, it's very similar to the GTA, right? My like normal little $1 million house in Brampton. Like, I wasn't going to call you. Like, you're only ever dealing with those big, giant, fancy. When we paint that picture, we are absolutely telling people like, I don't call me, right? Everything's great. I'm so busy selling houses like crazy. Oh, you're too busy for me.
So how do we tell that story differently then? How do you walk that fine line as a realtor where you don't want your audience to think you're not doing anything, right?
Great question.
But you also want them to not think you're so busy or only working one price point or only working one neighborhood that they're thinking about you. How do you, as a realtor, what's your advice on that?
So I'm going to tell you how I do it, because my business is not that different from realtors. I have to prospect. I have a database. I'm transactional. Mm-hmm. I work at events. The event happens and it's done, right? When I get to the point where I'm like, okay, this season is a little lighter. It's a little slower than what I would like. Typically my busy seasons are spring and fall, just like real estate. Mm-hmm. And so if I was coming into a fall season where I'm seeing like, okay, like I don't necessarily have as much work on the books as I would like, I will be open with the fact that, I'd really like to book 3 more events this fall. I'm not like, hey, I need more work, or I need more listings, or now's a great time. I'm saying, I would really like to work with 3 more customers this fall. I would really like to help 3 more people achieve this.
And are you saying that publicly on your social?
Absolutely,
You're
I am.
on the phone,
Yes.
talking to people?
Yes,
You're putting it right out there.
Absolutely. And so there is no reason why right now you couldn't say, hey, you know what? My business is typically really busy around fall, but I'm finding that right now, like, I would love to help 3 families make homeownership dreams happen this fall. And so if, if you'd like to be one of those, like, we should talk. There's no reason why, like, why not? Everybody else in every other industry does it.
It's that vulnerability piece.
It is, but it's truth, right? Because you know what? Somebody's going to see that and be like, I'm going to call them. It happens every time. Every time I say, I'd really like to book 3 more clients this fall. I have space on my calendar for 3 more projects or 3 more clients. People call me.
I think it is that vulnerability piece that realtors go, like, you want me to tell people I'm looking for business? That makes me feel desperate.
I'm booked. Completely booked. Life is good. #blessed. God, I mean, at some point, we're our worst enemy by saying, look at me, I'm amazing, everything's amazing. You're going to run into somebody in the grocery store that goes, looks like you're killing it. I just listed my house with somebody else.
And every realtor knows how that feels. Like
we do it to ourselves. We do it to ourselves.
That is so true.
Is it scary? 100%. Is it true?
Messy execution. On the note of messy execution, you in the book talk about rebellious risking. What is that?
Yeah, I always say risk rebelliously. I think joy and hope in times of hardship is rebellious. I have this friend who, his name is Brad Montague. I talk about him in the book, and he works with children, and he sort of runs this like Joy Rebels Club. That's what he calls it, Joy Rebels, because he says joy is an act of rebellion in the face of negativity and darkness. And so, God, are we in that space right now? Just the whole world feels heavy and sometimes awful. And, Brad is always reminding people that choosing joy in the face of that is rebellious. And I just love that word, rebellious, because my parents used that word to describe me as a kid in a bad way. Like if I was being rebellious, it was a bad thing. If I was being rebellious, I was doing things that I wasn't supposed to do. I was talking back, or I was having an opinion, or I was being mouthy or whatever. And I think that we've kind of turned that word into something it's not. Like risking when everybody looks at you and goes, well, that seems like a dumb idea. Like risking trying something new, risking doing something nobody else is doing is rebellious. And I kind of love it. Like, because people start to go, oh, something's happening over here. Michael Thorne tells the story of the very last hotel that ever offered free Wi-Fi.
Yes, I've heard that story.
Right? Like, imagine you're being the first hotel to offer free Wi-Fi. And, it used to be like, whatever, $12.95 a night to get Wi-Fi at hotels. And like, that was a lot of money. And so, it was. And so the very first hotel that offered free Wi-Fi, people in the hotel industry were like, are you crazy? You're giving up $12.95 a night per room? That's nuts. But people started booking that hotel. And we're seeing it with the airlines right now. They're all rushing to offer free Wi-Fi on flights, right? Imagine being the very last hotel to offer free Wi-Fi. Michael always says, like, it's not even a perk at that point. It's an expectation. And you look like the money-grubbing, greedy, not, progressive, whatever, and I think of that when I think of rebelliously risking. Like, would you rather be the one that rebelliously risks first and people go, you seem crazy? Or would you rather wait till everybody's doing it and you're dragged into doing it last? And everyone's like, what took you so long? Mm-hmm. You're not even relevant. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, it is rebellious to do
love that.
something before
love
everybody
that.
else does it.
I love that.
It's risky.
To wrap us up a little bit, tell me, you work closely with realtors, you have for a long time. The market in the GTA, as you know, as we've described, is definitely a little bit tough. What is your kind of message to realtors today if they want, to keep going and to have that, dream business coming up in 2026? What is your advice for them?
First, I would say stop comparing yourself to everybody around you and stop looking at what everybody else is doing. I think that is what freezes us and keeps us from moving forward a lot of the time. That what are they going to say? They're not doing it. I'm going to stand out. Good. Stand out. Like in a sea of same, weird wins every day of the week. Nobody is looking for somebody who looks and feels like everybody else. Gee, I would like to find that one really boring person that feels like everybody else. It's not what, like I just renovated the condo that I bought and I was like, I need a really good contractor who's like super organized, will communicate, and I don't have to micromanage. I wasn't like, can I just have some average renovator who's like,
Doesn't call me back and shows up late.
I want somebody who stands out for good reasons. And so stand out. That's my very first piece of advice. Stop looking at what everybody else is doing, comparing yourself, and stand out. Secondly, I would say and I know this is like, you've heard it a million times. Whoever's listening to this, you've heard it a million times. Your money is in your database. But I swear to God, your money is in your database. Like, call the people you already know. The people who have already trusted you enough to give you their money in the past. I go to the grocery store, the same grocery store, every week, and I get the same things because I like that peanut butter and I like that cereal. Those people liked you enough to hire you and pay you, and you haven't called them in 2 years. Call them. Just because they moved 2 years ago does not mean that things haven't changed in their life. Your money is in your database. I cannot stress it enough. I know we don't like to hear it because calling somebody after 2 years is awkward. Hey, it's been a couple of years. I just drove by your house and I was thinking about you. Coming up on Thanksgiving, I wanted to say thanks for just trusting me in the past. And if there's ever anything I can do to help you, I would absolutely be thrilled. How are the kids? It's not hard. It just requires a little vulnerability.
Mm-hmm. A lot of vulnerability. Great advice. Stand out and think about your database because that's where your money is.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to say thank you. You not only for being here today and for joining us on Signature Live, you have been instrumental in my own career and my own development. And if I had to listen to you tell me one more time, do it anyways, when I gave you whatever random excuse I had in the moment, like, I don't want to speak at the Buzz conference because this, that, and everything. You're like, I don't care, do it anyways. I don't want to Signature Live. Chris is making me. You're like, it doesn't matter. You're going to get on camera. There have been so many moments where you have pushed me. And we have had some wonderful times personally. Some of you, of course, know my love of Taylor Swift. And the only reason I got to see her during the Eras tour is because Miss Val Garcia got us tickets. And so we went to Denver to see her. And it was a whole vibe. And of course, tomorrow is Taylor Swift Day, which I'm very excited about. Do you want to stay up late?
Congratulations to all who celebrate.
Do you want to stay up late tonight and watch?
No, I will not. I will listen tomorrow.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to watch it. I'm going to listen to it tonight. On behalf of the industry, I also say thank you because you inspire and educate and lead a big group of folks who are so grateful for your message and your push. And reminding people that, messy execution is really where it's at. And if you haven't had a chance to check out Val's book, We're Gonna Need Cake, it's available on Indigo and on Amazon. I highly, highly recommend you pick up a copy. It's a great read and some great reminders for all of us in the real estate space. Val, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.